Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. Today's tutorial is going to be on this beanie pattern. Anybody can wear it. It is gender neutral. You can make this in multiple colors. You can make this as a solid color. You can make it all kinds of different ways. So I'm going to be making it in a solid color for you for the tutorial. Now the prior project, I grabbed some scrap balls of yarn to work up a design and see how it would work out. Now that I have the design, I am going to work it up in one of my favorite yarns, which is this Premier Pumpkin. Let's bring this over so you can see. It is a worsted weight, 359 yards, 7 ounces, 100% acrylic. Machine washable, warm, and tumble dry. I love Premier yarn, and Premier Basic is so soft. I absolutely love it. And it is also relatively inexpensive for the amount of yardage you get. So that is my personal opinion. Let's go ahead. I absolutely love them. I can't say enough about it. But let's go ahead and talk about this hat. You can do it, like I said, in multiple colors. You can do it in solid. It looks great in a solid. Or you can do it in multiple colors. Now, as I'm working it up, I will tell you when to change colors for it to replicate this. But once again, I will be using a solid color. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a darning needle to sew in your ends, 5.5 preferably. This is worked from the top down. You also might need a stitch marker to mark the beginning and end of your rounds. We are going to be starting with either a chain 4 and slip stitch to the very first chain. That's up to you. Or you can do magic loop if that's what you prefer. Personally, I do a chain 4. So I'm just going to place a slip knot on my hook, leaving a tail to crochet around so I can draw string it together and tighten up the top of the hat. That's a little dark to see, but there's a lot of texture to the top of the crown part of this beanie, so get ready. All right, so once you get your slip knot on your hook, you're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and slip. There we go. 4. Slip stitch to that very first chain. Now, what I do is grab hold of that chain with my middle finger and my thumb and hold it. I yarn over and slip stitch to complete that circle. Now I will be working into this circle and over the top of my tail. Now, for those that can't quite get the mock double crochet, I'm going to zoom in and go really slow for the mock double crochet. If you prefer to just chain up, that's perfectly okay. You can do a chain of 3 as your first double crochet. You can do a chain of 2 as your first double crochet. That is entirely up to you. However, I do a mock double crochet to start my round, and I will show you how to do that. We're going to zoom way in and go real slow. All right, so for the mock double crochet, we're going to pull up a loop to the height of a double crochet. Place your finger on that loop on your hook and hold it tight. Bring your hook towards you and around that loop you made. Let's do that again. So we have a loop about the height of a double crochet. finger on hook, bring the hook towards you, wrap it around that loop you made, still holding that loop. Now we're going to go into the circle. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So as you're looking at it, counting this right here in the center as one loop, we now have the equivalent of 3 loops on our hook for a double crochet. We're going to yarn over and go through 2. Now we're going to yarn over and go through the last 2. Now you're going to take that top stitch, that very first loop, and place a stitch marker into that loop. That is the top of your first double crochet. All right, place that stitch marker into the top of that stitch. Now we're going to move on and we're going to place 9 double crochets into the ring. And I'm crocheting over the top of my tail. Now you see how that looks just like a double crochet? So we're placing 9 double crochets. Including the first one, you will have a total of 10. So we're just yarning over, going into that loop, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Go ahead and continue making your double crochets until you have a total of 10. When you get to 10, you will slip stitch to the top of your first double crochet. Okay, so back at the beginning here, I'm just going to pop my stitch marker off, insert my hook into where the stitch marker was, yarn over, and pull through and through. Now I am slip stitch to the beginning and ready to start again. We're going to be alternating front loop, back loop only. So starting with back loop only, we're going to do 2 double crochets back loop only into that first stitch. So again, I'm doing a mock double crochet, picking up the back loop, yarning over, pulling up a stitch, yarning over, going through 2, yarning over, and going through 2. All right, replacing my stitch marker to the top of that mock double crochet. I need 1 more into that same back loop. We're going to double the amount of stitches from 10 to 20 for this round. And we're going to repeat all the way around. 2 double crochets, front loop only. That's 1 and 2. And in the next stitch, 2 double crochets, back loop only. So we're just alternating front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop, placing 2 double crochets in each and every stitch. Back to back loop, and you're going to continue that all the way around. You should have a total of 20 double crochets. When you reach the end, slip stitch to your very first double crochet, and I will meet up with you to start the next round. All right, let's start round 3. Round 3, you're going to work 2 doubles into the back loop only of that very first stitch. Whether you slip stitch and chain or you mock double crochet, up to you. So 2 double crochets, back loop only in the first stitch. One double crochet, front loop only, next stitch. So this is your repeat. 2 double crochets, back loop only, and 1 double crochet into the next front loop only. So again, we're just alternating back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop. Same style increase where you have 10 double crochets, then you do 20 double crochets by placing 2 in each of the stitches. Now we're doing 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. By the time you get around to the end, you should have 30 stitches. The only difference in this increase is the fact that every other stitch we're alternating between front loop and back loop. So we just did a front loop. We're going to do 2 in the back loop into the next stitch. Okay, and 1 into the front loop of the following stitch. 2 into the back loop. Okay, so that's how that works all the way around. I'm going to continue working all the way around. I'll meet you after we slip stitch to the very first stitch. All right, so round 4. Round 4 is going to be same as alternating front and back loop only. So with the first stitch, we're going to put 2 double crochets in the back loop only. Place my stitch marker. And 1 more double crochet in that back loop. Now we're going to put a double crochet into the next front loop only. A double crochet into the next back loop only. And 2 double crochets into the next front loop only. So that's how that is going to work. Irregardless of whether it is the front loop or the back loop, your increase stays the same. 2 double crochets together like this, then 1 double crochet in each of the next loops, whether it's back loop or front loop, and then repeat 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. The only thing that changes is whether it's back loop or front loop, depending on the stitch. This one was 1 double crochet into the front loop only. Now I'm going to go 2 double crochets into the back loop only. 1 double crochet into the front loop. 1 double crochet into the back loop. And now we're back to 2 double crochets in the front loop. Now 1 double crochet into the back loop. 1 double crochet into the front loop. And 2 double crochets into the next back loop. So no matter whether you're on a double crochet or 2 double crochets, you follow the same repeating pattern as far as front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop, and so on. And your repeat increase is 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, and then 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. At the end of this, you will have 40 double crochets. I'll meet up with you at the end, slip stitched and ready to start round 5. All right, now we're going to move on to the 5th round. The 5th round will be a total of 50 stitches by the time you get to the end. The same thing happens here as we've been doing. The only difference is now we're going to 2 double crochets in the back loop only of the first stitch. Then we're doing 1 double crochet, alternating back loop and front loop into each of the next 3 stitches this time. So that was 2 into the back loop for the first one. Now we need to do 3 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches, alternating front loop and back loop. So we have back loop, so the next one is front loop. 1 double crochet into the next front loop, 1 double crochet into the next back loop, and 1 double crochet into the next front loop. And now we are at the point where we do an increase. So 2 double crochets into the next back loop. And we're going to go on repeat. 1 double crochet into the next front loop, 1 double crochet into the next back loop, 1 double crochet into the next front loop, and 2 double crochets into the following back loop. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around, continuing to alternate back and forth between front loop and back loop. This gives us a nice little texture and thickness to this pattern. So when we get to the end, we're slip stitching to our first double crochet, and then we have 1 more increasing round to do. I'll meet up with you for round 6. This is our last increasing round. This is round 6, and here is what we are going to do. You're going to put 2 double crochets in the back loop only of your first stitch. And stitch marker, there's 1 and 2. And again, the same as we've been doing, you're going to alternate front loop, back loop, front loop, back loop. And for this one, the last one we had 3 double crochets in between our 2 double crochets in the same stitch. This time we have 4. So that was back loop, 2 double crochets. Now we need 4 by themselves. So there's 1 in the next stitch, 2 in the next stitch, meaning the second in the next stitch, and the third, and now the fourth. And this brings us back to a front post, or a front loop, sorry. And you will put 2 double crochets into that. Now let me go over that again from end to end here. So we had started with 2 double crochets in the back loop, and then we needed to do 4 by themselves. So we had a front loop only double crochet, back loop only double crochet, front loop only double crochet, back loop only double crochet. That was our 4. And now we're back to 2 into the front loop only. Now that's going to change as we go around. So you will continue with 1 double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the front loop of the following stitch, 1 double crochet into the back loop of the following stitch, 1 double crochet into the front loop of the following stitch, and now we're to the point where we do 2 double crochets into the same stitch, which is a back loop. Here we are. 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Go ahead and continue all the way around with that same repeat, just alternating front loop, back loop. And I will meet up with you at the end. We'll slip stitch to that very first double crochet, and we'll begin the rest of the pattern. Okay, so once you've made it all the way around, on round 6, you should have a total of 60 stitches. Now I'm just going to slip stitch to the very first stitch. If you're changing colors, now's when you would change color. And bring in your next color for this section here. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch. As I said, I'm staying solid. Now we're going to chain 1 and single crochet back into that same stitch. Chain 1 and 2, skip 2, 1, 2, and single crochet into the next. That is your repeat for round 7. Chain 1, 2, skip 2, and single crochet into the next. Go ahead and continue around for round 7, and I will meet up with you at the end, and we will begin round 8. Now, round 7 and 8 are repeating rounds. You will repeat 7 and 8 one more time. All right, we've come to the end. We have 1, 2 stitches left. You're going to chain 2, skip those 2, and slip stitch to that very first single crochet. And then we're going to slip stitch over into the chain 2 space directly following that single crochet. And we're going to place 3 double crochets into the chain 2 space. So go ahead and place 3 double crochets into that chain 2 space. There's 1 and 2 and 3. And your repeat is going to go right into the next chain 2 space and place 3 more double crochets. That is all there is to round 8, is 3 double crochets in each of the chain 2 spaces. Once you've reached the end, you will slip stitch to your first double crochet and repeat round 7, and then repeat round 8. So once you have finished round 10, after repeating 7 and 8 one more time, I will meet back up with you and we will begin the next 2 rounds together. So I have finished the 2 repeats, and I am at the point where we're going to do round 11. Now, if you would like to change color, like I have here for this section and this section, you are going to do that now. Slip stitch to the first double crochet and change colors. So what we're doing here is chaining 1 and half double crochet back into that same stitch. Replace your stitch marker and single crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next. So we're just alternating half double and single all the way around for round 11. Half double and single. So we're going to go ahead and continue working that all the way around. I will meet up with you at the end where we slip stitch to the first stitch and begin round 12. Okay, so when you come to the end of the round, you're going to slip stitch to your very first stitch. And now we're going to do the opposite of what we did the prior round. So this first stitch was a half double. So we're going to place a single crochet into that stitch. And now we're going to start alternating. 1 half double, 1 single, 1 half double, 1 single. And you're going to do this all the way around. Once you reach the end, we go back to the previous color, or whatever color you so choose. We're going to switch colors again. All right, so once you've made it to the end of the round, you're just going to slip stitch, and if you're changing colors, you're going to go back to this color here, or whatever your color was in that spot. And then what you're going to do is repeat that round 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 one more time. If you would like to add a brim, you could do the reverse single, you could do whatever have you. You could do relief stitches, front post, back post, entirely up to you. I made it this way so that way it was basic and gender neutral, yet had some design to it. All right, everyone. So that is it for the beanie, the wonderful crocheted beanie. All right, everyone. Be blessed, be a blessing, and until next time, bye for now.